to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
Get smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on Sports.
Welcome back in. What do you say? Little game time decisions on a Monday night. Great to have you with us here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. And for the next 2 hours, we have plenty to uncover. We have to talk about the NBA Finals. Game 2, the Celtics take a 2-0 lead. The cover depends on when you bet that game. Pushes, Mavericks wins, Celtics losses, Celtics wins. It was all on the board for game number 2. We will expand. We have game 2 in the Stanley Cup final tonight between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. I have a few picks in this game. If you were not with us on Game Time Decisions Saturday, I'm also invested in the series markets, and I believe this is a Florida series. Took them minus a game and a half, minus 2.5 games. I think the Panthers will be winning here once again tonight. But I do expect better from that Edmonton offense. There's a specific way for us to attack. Before we get to that, let's go with a quick pick for Matthew Tkachuk for an assist at plus 114. I know plenty are looking at Tkachuk as a goal scorer, which then would bring my attention to 2+ points at better than plus 250. It is the assist market, though, that caught my eye for Matthew Tkachuk. His longest stretch all postseason with 3 consecutive games without an assist. He is still the top assist man this postseason for the Florida Panthers, was their top assister in the regular season. And I think the offense will be better for Florida tonight. Remember, just 3 goals in game 1, and that third goal was an empty netter. So I think there's a chance tonight they could score 3 real ones, 4, maybe 5. Looking for some juice in this game. Matthew Tkachuk will provide one of them at least at plus 114. We'll get to your Major League Baseball board. Patiently waiting for the New York Yankees lineup to come out as Carlos Rodon will go for New York against Seth Lugo in Kansas City on the heels of their series against the LA Dodgers. Yankees late night avoid the sweep. NBA or WNBA action. We'll see Caitlin Clark go once again. No surprise. Plays every day, it feels like, in this league. Against the Connecticut Sun, who are coming off of their first loss all season at home to the New York Liberty. That is a double-digit spread. We will get to all of that. And as I said, we will pick up the pieces on the NBA Finals in a bit. I've made some additional NBA Finals futures wagers. They probably are a little unpopular, buck some of the trend that you're seeing today in the conversation. We'll get to those again in time, but we have to start with what is the big news of the day, and that is that Dan Hurley will stay at UConn and has turned down the opportunity to become the Los Angeles Lakers' next head coach. UConn right back to co-favorites with Kansas to win the national championship next season. That would, of course, be a three-peat, which would be incredible if Dan Hurley could accomplish that. And already what he's accomplished currently has been marvelous for UConn. And it's why Dan Hurley leaving the Lakers felt on the board. Again, of course, there's more to do. There's more to chase. There's more to potentially accomplish. But Hurley has basically done it all, right? It depends how far he wants to go. If he wants to try and get his name into the best coach of all time conversation, yeah, there's more to do in the college game. But NBA aspirations, we are to believe Dan Hurley truly has. Hurley has said as much. So the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the biggest organizations in all of sport, come calling. An opening, LeBron, AD, plenty to sell Dan Hurley on. Now, the process was odd. We heard that Lakers' top guy the whole way was Dan Hurley. That's interesting. They had done a number of interviews before Dan Hurley's name was ever even mentioned. Perhaps they kept things under wrap the whole time, though. Maybe. Okay, fine. So the Lakers met with Dan Hurley, and we were told they were going to offer him a blow-away deal. We heard someone say that Dan Hurley was offered $100 million. Had it on good authority, that person said. Woj told us it was going to be a lengthy contract with a lot of money. Well, the report from Woj was that Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers' offer of 6 years, $70 million. You have to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. See, I'm under the impression now that Dan Hurley was not really interested in leaving UConn. Dan Hurley is a college coach at his core. Dan Hurley is an East Coast guy. Dan Hurley has the chance to three-peat. Dan Hurley has a great roster. There's no rush. There's no rush. But if the NBA aspirations were real and the Lakers were about to offer a contract that UConn couldn't even compete with, he was going to be the Lakers head coach. And instead, the Lakers barely topped the Kentucky offer. So now all of a sudden it is on the board that Dan Hurley didn't play the Lakers. Dan Hurley's heart was probably with UConn, right? But if he was offered a deal he couldn't refuse, 10 years, $150 million, 8 years, $120 million. If that was there for Dan Hurley, then he was going to go. And instead, the Los Angeles Lakers couldn't top what Kentucky offered Dan Hurley. They couldn't top what the Detroit Pistons gave Monty Williams. It's unimaginable. Again, if Hurley was 100% never leaving and needed to extract every penny out of UConn, and that's all this was, then you could have lied up the number, right? You could have said he was offered $690 million, at least to make it look a lot better. Instead, once again, this Lakers front office flashes incompetence. That they do not know what they are doing, and they are in over their heads. They leave these negotiations looking ridiculous. It comes off as if they've lowballed their dream hire in Dan Hurley. And now, after constantly being tied to J.J. Redick and getting into a position where people were anticipating and accepting and some excitement around the hire, despite the inexperience, you dangle in front of your fan base the reigning back-to-back national champion winning Dan Hurley of the UConn Huskies, and now have to resell everyone on J.J. Redick. What are you doing? You're embarrassing yourself is the answer. You are again showing you don't know what you're doing. LeBron James, I believe, has 2 years left in his NBA career. And there is no reason to believe he will be anything other than one of the 10 best players on planet Earth for both of those seasons. And there is no reason to be a top 10 player in this league and not push for a championship. And constantly, this Lakers group is showing LeBron that they are not fit to put him in the position to compete for that championship. It is do or die. Either this team brings in a third star or LeBron needs to go. Simple as that. Cleveland, New York, Miami, I don't care if it's Utah. This Lakers team is lost at the wheel. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, it's all next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We might have some big news around this New York Yankees lineup. We'll get there. Let's start Stanley Cup, and then we'll get to the NBA Finals. Because I'm sure the hockey folk are like, come on, enough, all right? Thank you for letting me get in on Dan Hurley and the Lakers situation, but let's talk Panthers-Oilers. Look, Florida was plus 160 to win this series in 6 or less. Before it began, it's down to minus 110. I still think that's a good number. Now, if people out there read Game 1 differently than me, I could see some hesitation. If you like Edmonton tonight, obviously you're not going to like that number. But I think this is Panthers. I really do believe they're going to get downhill on Edmonton this series. I told you my pre-series pick was Edmonton in 5, Florida in 5, which is why I also played Florida minus 2.5 games, which went from plus 330 down to plus 194. So I feel good about those wagers. The other bet that was able to survive coming out of game number 1 was the Florida Panthers to score 2+ goals in every single game of this series, which is around a plus 225. At the moment, let me see if I can locate that for people. That's plus 180. It's not bad. If you like it tonight, which you probably do, in Edmonton, the games again have typically been higher scoring throughout the postseason. So I don't mind that at plus 180. I'm happy I played it before. I say survive, though, because I did lose one series-long wager in Game 1, which was Leon Draisaitl at plus 500 for a point in every game of this series. They were shut out. So obviously I lost that. And I do think that shutout, while I believe Florida gets the job done, means the Edmonton offense must bounce back. It's too talented not to. It's done it all postseason long. This game against Florida was the 4th time, now first shutout, but 4th time they've scored 1 goal or less. The follow-up games, they've scored 4 goals, they've scored 5 goals, they've scored 3 goals. So 3 goals should truly be the floor tonight for Edmonton. I'd say 2 is the absolute minimum. It's why I would look over in this game. I'm not worried about running into the over, though. I'm looking for Connor McDavid for 2+ points at minus 104. You're getting Connor McDavid at minus 104 for 2 points. This is a number that we have seen throughout this postseason be minus 150, minus 160. In game number 1, it was minus 140. I mentioned the games that Edmonton scored 1 or less goals. What does McDavid do in the follow-up? 2+ points in all 3. Of course, McDavid was held pointless for the 5th time in this postseason. 3 out of the 4 prior instances, the follow-up game, he had 2+ points. It's a clear bounce-back spot for this hockey team and for Connor McDavid, and it's my favorite bet on the NHL board tonight at minus 104 for McDavid to get 2+ points. As I said, it could Kachuk for an assist at plus 114. Now, the NBA Finals, I've also made a future wager. Boston takes the all-pivotal Game 2. I said heading into this series that I predicted Boston would win. If you made me give you games, I said 7. That this is the most important one because it would determine the length of the series. You would expect the split. You would expect the split in Dallas. So are we going back to Boston for Game 5, 3-1 or 2-2? Well, if we get this split here in Dallas, it'll go back 3-1. The thing is, as long as we get there, I still believe Dallas is capable of winning a game in Boston. When you evaluate this series, and as somebody who has not had the greatest betting series so far, because I've been betting team totals, I've been betting over, and I've not been able to cross the finish line. I've been close. We've been in the ballpark, but we've not been there to be able to cross the finish line. And the real downside of this series has been the Dallas Mavericks offense. I know everybody has harped on Boston's horrible 3-point shooting in that game. Dallas's was worse. Now, Boston's a better 3-point shooting team. I'm not telling you Boston won't regress. But why the Mavericks right now are, depending on when you bet the number, 0-2 against the number, and why they're down 2-0 in this series is their offense has not been able to show up. There is still, to me, enough offensive talent and adjustments that can be made that the Dallas Mavericks offense can wake up. And if they do that, it can then put pressure on this Boston Celtics team. And it'll give the Dallas Mavericks the opportunity to take at least one of their games at home, and if it comes to it, steal a Game 5 on the road. But at no point do I think the Dallas Mavericks will be winning this series. So I was able to now finally make a pair of bets that I wanted to make before the series, but the numbers weren't good enough. Celtics in 6, Celtics in 7. Both are plus 500. Now, only one of these wagers can win. But what we are getting is a plus 400 bet. If you put, or plus 200, excuse me, plus 200. If you're a $100 bettor, you go 50 on 4-2, 50 on 4-3, each paying back $250. Cut the 50 out from your other wager, you'll have risked 100 to win 200. Celtics in 6 or 7 is now plus 200, and I'm good with that because I wanted it pre-series. And as much as these bets would have a better chance if the series was 1-1, I do not think that all hope is lost for the Dallas Mavericks. These were bets I wanted before the series began. The Celtics in 6 was around plus 420. The Celtics in 7 was underneath plus 350. We're now getting 5-1 on each. I think anybody out there, they're not sweeping, expects at minimum this will go to a 5th game in Boston. All of Boston's losses this postseason have been at home. Dallas has been great on the road. If it comes down to it, I'll take my chance. The Mavericks could win that game, but I am not wavering whatsoever on who will be winning this series. It's the Boston Celtics. Who's going to win Finals MVP? A debate. And a market that is continuously moving that we will talk about later. But the baseball board is up next here on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
GameTime Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're closing it out here. Game time decisions. Quickly on the NBA Finals with MVP. As somebody who's bet Tatum, I'm not looking to reinvest, but I'm not panicked. Tatum is trailing Jaylen Brown by 9 points scored. He's going to run away as the team's rebound and assist leader. Do you think that Jason Tatum is going to lead this team in points, rebounds, and assists and not win Finals MVP? I wouldn't bank on that. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but I wouldn't bank on it. So the Yankees lineup has come out. Excellent. This is what we were waiting for. But it's an odd one. It's an off one. No Anthony Rizzo. That was talked about. No Aaron Judge. Yes, Juan Soto. Soto will DH today as the Yankees go head-to-head against Seth Lugo and the Kansas City Royals. What'll be interesting, and I want to see how much this has moved here, is the Yanks' money line. They're still favored at over minus 120. Now, getting Soto back is helpful, but without Judge, you would have expected maybe a bit more of a drop. There's almost a bit of me that now just wants to play under the 8.5. Here's the struggle for me on this game, and why I'm very interested in this game, though. Rodon is always live to have a blow-up game here or there. We know it's on the board, right? Lugo, though, is someone that I've talked about quite a bit this season. Seth Lugo, his last time on the mound was an MLB play of the day for me, with an under in the Guardians game. Smashed. Gave up 5 earned. Now Tristan McKenzie was rocked as well on the other side. I was wrong. I was off. But it was the second start of the year in which Seth Lugo gave up more than 2 earned runs. He started 13 games. The last time that happened, he came back against Detroit on the road, pitched 7 shutout innings, and gave up just 3 hits, struck out 9. The problem is it's Seth Lugo against the Yankees. Now, again, I know Judge isn't there. And I'm not telling you that Seth Lugo's a horrific pitcher, right? If you look at his last 3 years, the ERA, 3.5, 3.6, 3.57. This is no slight to Seth Lugo. Now, there's some, I know he was kind of coming out of the bullpen for a little bit, but still, Seth Lugo has been a solid pitcher for a little while now. But if regression is coming to a guy's 2.13 ERA, which is very hard to imagine is going to actually be a thing for him, then you don't really want to trust Lugo. Moneyline dog, whatever it might be. The struggles for Lugo this year have been more lefty than righty. So Soto coming into this lineup is a bit tempting. Hits, runs, RBI is a little expensive, though, at minus 150. Right now, the rest of the Yankees lineup, as far as player props that are available, looking at one book here, they are starting to come into play a little more and more. Volpe, 1.5. Verdugo, minus 135. I'm not sure we get there, which would be a shame. I could be tempted by some Salvi props. Here's what I'm on tonight. Blue Jays money line at even money as they make the trip to Milwaukee. Rios against Ray. Rios is hot right now. I have the advantage. Toronto wins the series in Oakland. I get it. It's Oakland. There's still talent on this roster. Offense is waking up a little bit over their last 5 or so games. A little bit. And I don't love Colin Ray. I don't love the spot. I'm on Toronto at even money. The other Major League Baseball play for me tonight is a parlay. A little rare, but the cap for these 2 games was very comparable. And I thought I needed to be smart about how I played this. Mariners, White Sox, Padres, Athletics. Both games over 5.5. And a parlay is even money. These 2 totals were 7. Now, they have been on the move a little bit. 7.5's starting to appear more consistently. But again, the caps were very similar. The home team, Seattle, San Diego, is throwing a top guy. But a top guy who could be live to get blown up a little bit tonight. Cease hasn't been great for like 5 starts. Logan Gilbert's due to give up a couple of runs. On the other side is a pitcher live to get absolutely shelled. Fetty's been awful on the road. Joey Estes can get blown up here by this San Diego lineup. Instead of playing a pair of over 7s at minus 120, splitting and losing, I bring them together at 5.5 and get even money for over Padres, Athletics, Mariners, White Sox. We'll be right back. Joe Madden joins the show next.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, back to right here, live on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh joined by Joe Madden. Joe, great to talk to you. We had a Stanley Cup final and a full Major League Baseball board. Should be a great night of action on a Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be a super night of action out there. Hopefully, at least, Kevin, if these bets are cashing, it's going to be even better, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's start, Joe, with the Major League Baseball board tonight. And at 6:50, we have Tampa Bay, Baltimore. Corbin Burnes as a road favorite as the Orioles look to complete a 4-game sweep. Is this a game you're going to look to get involved with?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I'm going to back Corbin Burnes here. It's really interesting that he is yet to face the Tampa Bay Rays in his career, considering he got off in 2018, Kevin. But this is his first matchup, and I think we can look at his strikeouts here, and I think we can fire up that number. You're looking at his strikeouts coming in at 6.5 at -122. I don't want to lay the juice, and Corbin Burnes is so phenomenally strong. I think we can take him for 8+ strikeouts in this one. That's coming in at +164. I do think the Milwaukee Brewers come out nice and strong, get the win here, and yeah, it's just -142. I'm not really loving the juice you got to lay on them, but I do think they get the sweep.
Yeah, I think, and it's a juice that's rising right now on the money line here. Occasionally you see these Baltimore numbers and they're expecting, come on, they got to drop a game here. But the Orioles are awesome. They really, really are. I think some of the shine is off this team because they're not in first place in their division. That's through no fault of their own. This team's 20 games over 500, and if the Yankees slip up at any point, they will be there to catch them. Let's move over to this next game here, Joe, which is some 7:40 action in Minnesota. The Twins, with Chris Paddock, are a really big favorite over the Colorado Rockies. This is a situation where I probably think the Twins win the game, but I can't get involved at this kind of price. Have you found a way to play this one tonight?
I'm with you, Kevin. I don't want to look at the run line here for the Twins, even though I do think they can get the win. I'm just not that comfortable with them covering that run line. I'm going to look for this to go to the over. I expect a lot of runs to come in this game, and that total is sitting solid at 8. I just think it's the easiest way. I think this is a 5-4 win here for the Minnesota Twins, hence not being able to take that run line. So over 8 for me.
Okay, makes plenty of sense, I would say, in this game. Paddock has his struggles against really both sides of the dish. So as long as Minnesota shows up to this game, there should be enough juice here over this one. Joe, a big game between the Royals and the Yankees right now. And I'm sure the Yankees-Dodgers series worked out for you because you've just told people keep betting Judge, RBI. It works every time. He's not in the lineup out of nowhere tonight. What do you do with this Yankees-Royals game?
I was surprised when I first saw this line that the Yankees were the favorite before we heard about Judge, because I do think off of that hard matchup versus the Dodgers, it's one where I'm fading them because of the position they're in this one. I'm looking for the Kansas City Royals with giving Seth Lugo the start to be able to have that home edge in this one. And we're getting plus money with them. The Kansas City Royals have been playing strong. Seth Lugo's been coming out strong. And I know Carlos Rodon should come out nice in this one, but I look at this Yankees lineup and with what they had to face versus the Dodgers, I think, and the travel today, this is a hard situation for them to be able to get the win. So give me the Royals here, even more so now with Aaron Judge out of this lineup.
Yeah, it's a strong look. I think Soto being back's fascinating. DHing, is he DHing because they want to just ease him in because he hasn't played in a couple days, or is he DHing because that's all he can do? You know, that changes a lot of stuff for the New York Yankees, right? Is part of the reason that Judge is out because, Soto has to DH and we're moving stuff around. It's an interesting game. Keep your eyes on this one, certainly. And again, Seth Lugo's been great all year. If he bounces back off of the last outing, which was a bad one against the Guardians, it means Lugo is going to be very legit in that AL Cy Young race. We'll keep it moving over here, Joe, to Milwaukee, where the Brewers are the home favorite with a total of 8.5 against the Toronto Blue Jays. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, this line makes sense with the Brewers being the favorite. I am going to look at another over in this game. I don't trust either bullpen that very much. Barrios getting the start here for the Toronto Blue Jays. And while he's really solid at home, you look at that road ERA and it is a 3.76. Compared to his home ERA of 1.82, I think a lot of people really have faith in him. I do think the Milwaukee Brewers, with Rhea getting the start, can limit the bats here of Toronto to start this game. But I do think we'll see these runs come in. This is another game. I'm looking at a 5-4 style win here for the Brewers. I think they're able to get things done tonight, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm on Toronto, but look, it's not my favorite play in the world. I found some of the Colin Ray starts to be a little bit tricky, but I do think that Barrios has an ability to keep this team within the game. And perhaps the up to special can help us for those that get involved with that market. We'll keep moving it forward here on the baseball board, though, Joe, and take a look at some late-night action between Seattle and Chicago. The White Sox woke up a little bit against the Red Sox. What do you expect now out west?
I love looking at a dog like the Chicago White Sox in situations like this. I think there's so much value straight up on that money line, coming in anywhere from plus 177 to plus 184 I've seen out there, Kevin. And I have put a sprinkle on it. I do think taking them plus 1.5 on the run line is another solid way to look as well. I know Logan Gilbert has been phenomenally strong, and I will be riding him for his strikeouts today. That number coming in at 6.5 minus 120 to the over. I do think he has the ability to get at least 7 strikeouts here on the Chicago White Sox. This is a team that's striking out at a rate of right around 25% on the road versus righties. But when we look at Eric Fetty here for the Chicago White Sox, that ERA has been high. On the road again, he's been phenomenally strong at home, but road ERA of 5.70. One thing he's been able to still do is get those strikeouts. So I am looking at Eric Fetty here for his strikeouts, and I'm firing up that number. 7+ strikeouts coming in for him at plus 158. I think he's able to do it. I still do think there is an ability to look, even though these pitchers are strong, for the home runs and the RBIs today, Kevin. I'm taking Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners for a home run. He's coming in at plus 500. He's on a 3-game hitting streak. He's been phenomenally strong as of late. And then Gavin Sheets here of the Chicago White Sox. Again, 3-game hitting streak. He's had 2 home runs and 6 RBIs in his last 3 games. And I do think the RBI at plus 200 just holds too much value for me to look away from in this one, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think, it's so funny. I really only bet the home runs on Tuesdays, which is tomorrow, but some big numbers out there if you can find the spot. Joe, and then what about this Padres game hosting the Oakland Athletics? Dylan Cease has the ball.
I'm just going to look at Dylan Cease here. Give me Dylan Cease for his strikeouts tonight. Over 8.5 strikeouts at plus 120. And I think a lot of people are going to shy away from this because that number is so high, and that's not firing it up. This is what the books are giving us. But I do think here versus the Oakland A's, he's able to get those strikeouts on the board. Now, his home starts haven't gone exactly the way that he's wanted. He's 1-4 at home with a 4.34 ERA. But against the Oakland A's here, I just think he has every ability to be able to get 9 strikeouts on the board. I would look at the Padres team total as well. Over 4.5 runs, that is coming in at plus 116. I think this is a 5-2 style game for the Padres. Thus, I can't touch that full game total to the over. Joey Estes, it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out here. He's had those struggles on the road. The ERA is a 6.59 in 13 innings pitched. So he's allowed those 10 earned runs. It scares me to play anything on him in this one. I'm going to be watching him, though, because I love him at home for the Oakland A's. So I want to see how he does in this road matchup.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Joe. 5.5 would work for me though, or 5-2 would work for me because I took the 5.5 with that. Quickly, anything Giants Astros you're looking at?
Not really. The Giants Astros,
Okay.
Aragate coming out here, and Kyle Harrison. I think the Giants can get the win at home. I'm leaning.
Yeah, a
on
little
them
home
there,
dog price.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah,
home
I don't
dog.
mind that at all. All right, let's talk some Stanley Cup final. Oilers need it. Can they get it? We'll answer that next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. Behind the scenes, I'm trying to make one on a college baseball game. I know I've maybe said some bad things about college baseball. One, that's because I was trying to maybe, rib the producer a little bit, who talks about college baseball way too much. Because secretly, volumes are kind of good around college baseball. It's a very palatable sport. And two, I've kind of been red hot betting college baseball. So, the game has my attention tonight. Georgia, NC State. I saw a friend of the program, BSS, had an under in that game for a best bet. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. Let's talk hockey. Joe Madden's with us. Joe, the Oilers, very interesting. Kind of what happened for them in Game 6 against Dallas took place in Game number 1 against Florida. They outshot their opponent in the Panthers comfortably, and yet they were never really in the game. What do you think now heading into Game 2?
This is do or die for the Edmonton Oilers. You look at teams in the playoffs, Kevin, and in the last 4 years, teams that have gone down 0-2 in a 7-game playoff series in hockey have gone 21-25 for that team that is up 2-0. So the Florida Panthers should get if they get the win tonight, should be able to take this whole series. And the Edmonton Oilers know it. They can't go back to Edmonton down 0-2 in this one. And I think we're going to get the best out of them tonight. Now, you said it in that last game, Edmonton completely outplayed the Florida Panthers. They did everything they could to try to score, but they ran into a hot goaltender here with Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky can't get that much work on him again tonight. The Florida Panthers, we saw the lack of offense and the lack of defense out there. They're very lucky to have won that since Bobrovsky was so hot. If it wasn't for Bobrovsky, that would have been an 8-0 style win for the Edmonton Oilers, because Florida got lucky with 2 of their shots on goal as well. 2 of those goals coming off defensive players out there for Edmonton, more so errors of that defense for the Edmonton Oilers. So Florida was very lucky to win that game. And I know if you looked at that box score, 3-0, you would think the Florida Panthers dominated. But Kevin, you said it. The Edmonton Oilers dominated out there on the ice. They just couldn't get past the wall of this Bobrovsky in it.
Yeah, it was a very impressive game for Florida. And I think my read on that, Joe, is that's just a missed opportunity for Edmonton. Yeah. Sometimes you see a game like that and you go, oh, wow, Edmonton's the better team. I view it's kind of like what we saw last night with Dallas and Boston, right? Boston's not going to shoot like that again, right? So the Mavericks really missed an opportunity to win a game. Edmonton's not going to outshoot Florida on the road like that. And that was a huge missed opportunity for the Oilers. So when you start to put the card together for this game, what are you looking for?
Well, the first thing I look at is the defense of the Florida Panthers to really step up. So I went straight to Bobrovsky's number. It was 24.5, Kevin, and I couldn't touch it either way of that, because I do think the Panthers start giving him the support like we saw in the series versus the New York Rangers. This is a team that can really lock down on the defensive side. So then I started looking at Stuart Skinner's numbers, and I know it's scary to take Skinner over 26.5 save shots on goal when we saw the Florida Panthers only be able to get 18 shots in that last game. But like I said, offensively and defensively, the Florida Panthers played a terrible game in the last one, even though they are able to get the win. The Florida Panthers are a team that will shoot absolutely everything at the goaltender, and I do think Skinner will face at least 35 shots. So looking at him here, even though Edmonton's defense is so strong and can lock down, I do think Florida finds a way to get those shots on Skinner. So my first look is Skinner over 26.5 save shots on goal, Kevin.
All right, listen, I think, Joe, the thing with goalie props that I still kind of struggle with, am I trying to bet on a goalie being great or the opponent having a lot of shots? Like, I almost wanted to take the Bobrovsky under, thinking that Edmonton won't have enough volume. But then I'm like, I might be kind of outthinking it, so I kind of just stepped away from what was a 24.5 number there. What other props are you looking for in this game?
Okay, I'm also going to look at Connor McDavid and Matthew Tkachuk. When I look at Connor McDavid here, I know a lot of people are wanting to take his shots on goal prop. He had 6 shots on goal in that last game. His number of 3.5, you're going to get a little bit of plus money to the over, Kevin, and I can't touch it to save my life. I do think that lockdown on Connor McDavid is coming, but again, it's Connor McDavid. I think he's able to score a goal tonight. Now, that goal could come, and he could still go under the 3.5 shots. His anytime goal coming in at plus 165. I'm expecting Connor McDavid to have a max of 3 shots. I'm expecting him to be able to find the back of the net. The reason I'm not playing his under 3.5 shots is it's too juicy. It's minus 152 to the under, which says a lot when he had 6 shots in the last game. I'm then going to look at Matthew Tkachuk here for the anytime goal as well for the Florida Panthers. I really do think the big stars in this game step up. So Matthew Tkachuk coming in at plus 185 for that anytime goal. Now, if you're looking for someone to get those shots on goal, I do think you circle Sam Bennett here of the Florida Panthers. Like I said in the last game, you didn't see those shots coming out of Florida. Because of that, we're getting some great plus money on Sam Bennett. Over 2.5 shots coming in at plus 126. I do think he can get 3 shots in this game, Kevin.
Yeah, I think this Florida team's so loaded, Joe. There's always so many interesting options, and at times can be a little difficult here to narrow down on one. McDavid finds the back of the net tonight, though, huh?
Oh, I think so. You look at him and his heart that he's putting into this game, and I really do think Connor McDavid can get that goal. Now, could this come in overtime? Absolutely. I'm looking for a lower scoring game, so it is dangerous to take these these goal props in a lower scoring game. But I do think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, these two players, such a strong duo. You're not holding Connor McDavid off that scoreboard in the Stanley Cup Finals forever. So I'm looking for that tonight. I'm looking at overtime. I'm looking at a lower scoring in the under 5.5 to cash as well, Kevin.
All right. So, look, plenty of action there from Joe. Anything we missed, Joe, before we let you get out of here?
I think we got everything. Pretty sure.
I think we got it all. I think we got it all. It's going to be a great game. I'm excited for it. Stanley Cup Finals been good. Awesome, Joe. We appreciate it. Best of luck with all the action. Up next, Aaron Judge out of the lineup with the first minus money MVP all year in baseball. We'll talk about that next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
GameTime Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you. We did just make one. Over 15.5, Georgia, NC State. Now, hockey guy, golf guy, listen, college baseball guy, I can't make that claim. But I've been seeing the board. I think the team is all excited about this one. We're calling this a SportsGrid head-to-head game time decisions against the early line. The early line likes under the 15.5. Game time decisions is taking the over 15.5. This is a team wager, head-to-head. College baseball versus college baseball. Who knows it better? Here on Game Time Decisions, we say it's us. Over 15.5. Both of these teams, I think, can hit double digits. You want a final score prediction? 11-9 Bulldogs. We'll see how it goes. Let's talk baseball. Let's talk pros. Let's talk American League MVP. Market movement has provided us our first minus money MVP favorite all year. National League, we've not seen minus money just yet, but Aaron Judge is now minus 110 in the AL MVP market. And Aaron Judge has been on a heater unlike any we've really seen in some time. That is a 30-day window of a 400 batting average for the best power hitter in the game. The best power hitter in the game is hitting for average, more than average. Think about the nature of Major League Baseball. Think about the conversations you hear from people who don't love the state of the league and that nobody can hit for average. And Aaron Judge, who that was more than true of to open things up, heading into May, was batting sub 200 and is now hitting 400 over a month. The 17 home runs are not too shabby. Now, Aaron Judge, I don't think will compete for a triple crown. I think the average is too far back from that slow start. But he would be the live favorite for your home run lead and RBI lead, quite frankly. But is he the bet to make in the AL MVP race? Let's take a look at the odds. Judge at minus 110, the favorite. It's been moving. For a while, it was Juan Soto as the favorite in this race. Now, the guys that have been in this for pretty much all season long, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson. Kyle Tucker dropping due to injury. Jose Ramirez and the Guardians having this great season are in the fold. If you want to round out your top 10, Corey Seager, Adley Rutschman, Rafael Devers, Salvador Perez. Now, I think we can start to eliminate some guys off this list. And right away, it's this trio down here at the bottom. Don't have the pedigree, don't have the pop, too far a climb. Just don't have the juice. That's no disrespect. It's why their numbers are what they are. Corey Seager and Texas, it's not going to happen. Seager had a slow start. I know he got hot for a little bit with the home runs. But again, what are you going to out-home run Aaron Judge? Too many other guys at the top here having a great start. I wouldn't touch Seager. Kyle Tucker's injured, and the Astros are bad. No thank you. Jose Ramirez is where people will start to make some arguments. Jose right now does lead Major League Baseball in RBI, 62. The Guardians are all of a sudden this power team. A group so often built on pitching, lost Shane Bieber early season, winning the American League Central. That would be a nice boost for Jose Ramirez. But are we making those arguments? Because here's the deal. That's what people would look to say for Gunnar Henderson. Well, what if Baltimore wins the American League East? Or Bobby Witt Jr. Whoa. What if the Kansas City Royals or 90-win ball club maybe win their division? The thing is, this isn't how they typically give out the MVP award in Major League Baseball. That's why the American League MVP award has been dominated by the Los Angeles Angels for more than a half decade between Trout and Ohtani. And it's correct. You do not have to give out baseball MVPs based on records. This isn't the NBA. This isn't the NFL. It's on who's having the best year. And that now is indisputable. It's Aaron Judge. But Judge does have some injury questions for people. So if you, and I wouldn't go and run to bet Judge. So if we had to click, I'd look at Juan Soto, his teammate, at plus 600. The reason this number dropped is the injury. Well, he's back in the lineup tonight. And Soto was neck and neck with Aaron Judge until that injury. And if we're going to do here's the credit of it all, Soto's the change this year for the Yankees, and Soto is a big reason why that team's going to look for 100 wins. We'll talk to Coach James Young next, live here on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen. And the answer is, it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen and watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's rush into it here. Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you, joined by Coach James Young. JY, Connecticut Sun, Indiana Fever tonight. Connecticut at home off a loss, laying double digits to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. You like any action in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to be quicker because this game's about to tip off. I'll give all three of my plays right off the bat, Kate. Number one, I'm going to go with the Fever team total under 73.5. This is the team that's gone under this number in 5 out of the last 12 games. Connecticut, they've gone 1 out of 2 under this number. This is the best defensive team in effective field goal percentage defense, points per game allowed, but they're also 11th in pace to Connecticut Sun. They'll slow the game down. I watched them play against Liberty. They were not themselves. They go under 73.5. Next, Caitlin Clark under 19.5 points. She got 20 and 17 in her 2 matchups so far versus them. Like I said, best defense, slow pace, angry team, Christy sides. Don't open your mouth and say this, girl, you just woke up a monster, because now you may have woke up the monster on the other side, a team that's damn good in the Connecticut Sun that's going to be in a foul mood after the way they played defensively versus Liberty. I'm going Caitlin Clark under 19.5. She gets about 16, 17. Last, Dewana Bonner, Kevin, she's under this in her 2 games versus the Connecticut, versus the Indiana Fever. But the Fever are 11th in 3-point percentage defense, and she's gone over to 6 out of the last 7 games. The shot volume is there, Kevin. She's taken 10 threes in the 2 matchups. Those are also 2 of the first 3 games of the season. She's gone 6 out of 7 since then. Dewana Bonner over 1.5 made threes tonight.
All right. We're on the board. Excellent. Now let's talk big picture in the W quickly. I'll start with this. Coach, if you had a vote for league MVP right now in the W, do you have a strong feeling as to where that vote would go?
My vote would be for Naphisha Collier, because you and I have talked about this, and this team was really not expected to do much before the season started. She's been absolutely fantastic, top 5 in scoring and rebounding. I know people are looking at Asia Wilson. Kevin, they don't look right. She's playing well. But if you tell me if I can get a chance here, right? If I get a chance of this team being near the top of the league at the end of the season, I like Naphisha Collier at 11-1. I liked her at 7.5-1. I think the odds just said, I think it was plus 650 now. They have the third best record in the league. Their defense is, I think, second best in points per game allowed. Defisha Collier right now would be my vote for league MVP.
So I think that is totally fair. I personally would struggle with the vote. I think Nafisha would deserve a lot of credit. I think Stewie would deserve a lot of credit. And I think Alyssa Thomas, who's in action right now as well, would be in that conversation. The market currently has Aja Wilson at minus 195. Aja at the moment is averaging 28.3 points per game. It would easily set the record for the highest point per game mark in league history. Also, her 11.8 rebounds would be the third most ever on a per game basis in league history. And that's to the decimal. Nobody's ever actually averaged 12 boards a night in the WNBA history. However, they are 5-4. For the second consecutive season, the Las Vegas Aces' fourth loss of their season has come against the LA Sparks, interestingly enough. Except last year, when they lost their fourth game, that put them to 28-4. So unless Vegas rips off 23 consecutive wins, this is a team wildly. You have to understand the expectations are high. They are wildly playing below them. I know they are not fully healthy. I know that. Chelsea Gray is super important, one of the most important in the league. The Vegas Aces would probably tell you they couldn't win a championship without her. But then it becomes a little difficult to make the Aja argument. And more importantly, it is impossible to justify this price. I still can't imagine a world that a historic Aja Wilson season, and that's what it is, would overcome the defending back-to-back champions finishing outside of the top 3 in the W. That's my issue, JY. I'm curious what you would, and I know it's difficult because we're talking voters, but do you feel that the historic nature of Aja Wilson would outweigh the Vegas Aces, again, or, you know what, let me ask you a different question to cut myself off. Do you think the Aces will easily turn this around and still win 30 games this season?
I don't think they turn around and win 30 games, but I still think at the end of the year, they're going to be right there to win a WNBA championship. And Kevin, here's my point here. I don't know if this is going to make sense to people. Even though she's having a historic season, if they continue to struggle and then Chelsea Gray comes back and is flawless in her return and they take off, are people going to say, it's because Aja Wilson, has been doing it all year? Or are people going to say, hey, they struggled. They got their point guard back. They got their floor general back. And once she got back, they played better. That's the part that I'm struggling with is how do people see it? Kevin, the stats say she should be an overwhelming favorite. I think the other reason why we're getting this is and think about this, Kevin, they lost and she moved even more minus money. What happened over the weekend? Number one, the Connecticut Sun lost. And Alyssa Thomas, although she's a walking triple-double, will never put up the offensive stats regards to shooting threes or high enough points per game that's going to be sexy enough at times for the voters. Right? Stewie.
JY.
Yes.
I just want to emphasize something that you just said. Because some people might hear it and maybe it might not register. The world where Chelsea Gray comes back and starts to grab a lot of the credit. Aja last year was left off a ballot. Aja last year was not top 3 on every ballot. You know who had the 1 third place vote over Aja Wilson? Chelsea Gray. So I hope people understand. Us two are not telling you that A'ja Wilson is anything other than the best player in this league. I fully believe she's the best player in this league.
Yes.
She's an all-time great already. And I said preseason I wanted to bet her to win league MVP, but I didn't think the number was good enough. If you would have told me, hey, she's minus 195. Hey, she's got the scoring record at the moment. She's going to compete for the rebound record at the moment. What do you think their team record is? 7-2, 8-1, 5-4 is there. I'll put it to people like this. They are no longer favored to have the best record in the WNBA. That's the New York Liberty. A'ja Wilson does not lead the WNBA in win shares. That's Breanna Stewart. A'ja Wilson lost out in this market to Stewie last year, Coach. Minus 195 is not a justifiable number.
No, and I think what I was trying to say really quick, because I know we have to go to commercial, is not only the fact that Alexa Thomas not being sexy enough in her scoring, how much she scores. If you look at the New York Liberty, particularly the last two games, their best player at times have been Jonquel Jones. So as she's starting to score a ton, that's starting to pull back a little bit on Stewie. It's fascinating, Kevin. It's not over. I think there's a case that Collier can win this thing. I really do.
We're going to talk some NBA Finals next. We're live with you here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh and Coach James Young.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
4-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh with you. Quick live update. Leadoff double for the Wolfpack, because people are asking. They didn't score him, so Georgia with a chance to strike first. Caitlin Clark with an early three. She has 5, but they trail 5 because DeWanna Bonner's made 2 threes, cashed the ticket for coach. She has 8 early points here against the Indiana Fever. And the Orioles did score in that first inning of a Gunnar Henderson home run. What an absolute rock star that kid is, as the O's are up on Tampa. We're going to still get some MLB picks on the board. But having Coach James Young here, I want to talk some NBA Finals. JY, you were a Mavericks backer before this series began. Now, they've not lost a game at home, but I'm sure you were hoping for a split here to start this series. What has gone wrong for the Dallas Mavericks in your eyes?
Kevin, simply put, going into this series, I think I said it to you, on your show, is I felt that Luka and Kyrie had to win their matchup versus Tatum and Brown more than Porzingis, Holiday, White, Horford would win their matchup versus Jones, Washington, Lively, and Gafford. Last night's game, they lost by 7. Those 4 Celtics outscored those 4 Mavericks 59-43. And Luka did what he was supposed to do. Folks, simply put, Kyrie's got to be better. I mean, there's no way around it. You need 2 guys. And if you think about what happened is Luka early on literally put the team on his back, right, Kevin, in the first quarter? I think he had, 13, in the first quarter, right? Great start for him. Great start in the first half. He needed Kyrie to be better than 2 of 8, all 3 from 3 in the second half. He can't carry this on his own. The NBA is not built this way. You can't have like a guy get 30 and then your next superstar averaging 14 points per game in the NBA Finals. A guy that's a career, that should be a career, has had seasons where he was 50, 40, 90. Look it up. 50% from the floor, 40% from 3, 90% from the foul line. Kevin, if I'm not mistaken, the only person I think did it may have been Nash, if I'm not mistaken. But he's got to be better, Kevin, and he hasn't been. And that's been a problem. And I know he had the assists. He has to score. And my only hope for them is Porzingis didn't look good. You wonder if that leg is compromised. And does that open up the floodgates for them to attack the basket? But Kyrie's got to be really good, K-Dub, especially in his pull-up game around 15 or so feet.
Yeah, so I think what I agree in terms of where Dallas is dying is offensively, there's no juice to this team. It was a bit stunning to listen to the broadcast. Oh, my gosh. Boston, they're not even playing well. Dallas isn't. Every Maverick, other than Luka, isn't playing well. Who on the Dallas Mavericks right now are we leaving this series being like, wow, and this has been great? Kyrie Irving is averaging 14 a game. You might say, oh, well, P.J. Washington's giving him 15 a game. He can't make his threes. P.J. Washington is 1 of 8 from 3 in this series. They can't survive on that. Derek Lively's not been anywhere near. Derek Lively has scored 4 points in this series. Can't survive off that. They just can't. They just absolutely cannot. So, to me, there's a lot of talk, well, Boston's going to shoot much better. Yeah. But Dallas has to be able to win a game 118-113. They have to be able to win a game 115-109. They're not winning 101-98 drag-out wars. That's not what this is. It just can't be. So, Coach, early heading it, look right now, thinking about Game 3, is there anything that you're going to really be keying in on?
I'm still looking at Kyrie and his points prop. I know it's a 22-23.5. Kevin, you're right. P.J. Washington isn't making his threes. Lively's been in foul trouble, right? Derek Jones was 2 of 9 in game number 1. But if he scores, Kevin, I think it calms everyone else down. It takes less pressure off some of the other guys. If Kyrie plays like the Kyrie that at least you and I feel he's capable of. You say it best, right? Boston should shoot better. Kevin, role players, B players, always play better in their home arena. I expect Dallas to be much better offensively. I expect Kyrie to be much better. But I also expect the other guys to be better as well. I know last time or yesterday, you had liked their team total over, right? I think that's something you were very much into. Dallas's team total over for game number 3 is 107.5. If we just go on the fact that Kyrie's better and the role guys play better, they should smash that. Because if they're going to win, Kevin, they got to get to at least 110, in my opinion. They're not going to win this game scoring 95 points, 100 points. They got to get to 110. I like this over 107.5 in game 3 for the Dallas Mavericks.
We're going to talk with Coach a little bit more. 2 things. 1, the Finals MVP market. And 2, Dan Hurley. Because Dan Hurley is staying at UConn. And that is certainly a win for the Huskies. Obviously. Not know why. Whatever. I'm not going to be mean to other people who don't matter. What does this mean for the Lakers is the question. And what is the fallout from the Lakers missing on what was labeled their guy? Their main target, they lost. What's next? We'll answer that possibly after the break.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh and close personal good friend, Coach James Young here. This son of a gun, let me tell you. I don't know if he thinks I'm mad at him, but if I was, I'm not. That's all I know. What a guy. All right, JY, look, I want to handle business because we only have a little bit of time left with you. Finals MVP. A lot of debate. No clear-cut favorite. What do you make of the market right now?
Well, the market is that you can go in a lot of different directions when you talk about Boston. But to me, it's still Tatum. I know he's not scored a ton, but I think what I've seen out of him is his ability to pass the ball. His field goal percentage is terrible, but he leads it in rebounds. He could lead it in assists, and at some point he's going to have a breakout game, right? So to me, it's still Tatum because of the totality of what he's doing, not just the scoring's down, but the rebounds, especially the assists being the facilitator. I thought it was really interesting with the comments that Jason Kidd made. It was a ploy for him to do too much if he wasn't scoring, and he did too much in the right way, meaning, create stuff for other guys or rely on his pass to get other guys shots. I think that should open up his ability to score. I think Tatum's going to be better if Boston wins the title, which I still pray it doesn't. I get some kind of 4-game run out of Dallas, but you can't get 4 games unless you win on Wednesday. I would say, to me, the favorite, and should be the favorite, and should win the MVP, in my opinion, is going to be Tatum.
Tatum is not going to lead this team in points, rebounds, assists, and not win Finals MVP. Now, you would say, well, what if he keeps shooting this way? How is that going to happen? I cannot wrap my head around a player of this caliber continuing to shoot this way. What I would say to you is Jaylen Brown blew an opportunity to extend and win Finals MVP. Remember the Kristaps thing? He's dead. That's completely done. The health is a part of it, but, stop it. Kristaps Porzingis is not winning Finals MVP. Since the first half ended, he scored 14 points. So that's over and done with, and that's fine. Now Drew Holiday is the new guy that enters the fold. Drew actually has a legitimate case. If the series ended today, it doesn't. If you look at what we've seen from Drew Holiday in this postseason, he's very likely to have multiple quiet games. Not a slight. It's not a slight. They don't need Drew to score 26. It was the second most points he scored all season long. They just don't need it. So the fact that Jaylen Brown is up 9 points on Tatum, if you bet Jaylen Brown, you missed your window. You just did. If JB was averaging 27, okay, that's a different conversation. Tatum is averaging 17, 10, and 8.5. He should be averaging a full triple-double. He didn't get any help from his guys, funny enough, in Game 1. He should have had 10 assists, easily. 16 potential assists. They didn't knock him down. It is what it is. It happens. The shooting has been abysmal. But let's be realistic. Are they going to give Finals MVP to Jaylen Brown or Drew Holiday or Kristaps if Jason Tatum leads this team in points, rebounds, and assists? It's not going to happen. Here's the biggest threat to Tatum. It's Luka. Now, he is plus 650. Dallas is plus 640. If I were in charge, I would make Luka 6-1. I'm not in charge, though. If this series goes 7, it'll be a conversation. I don't know if you think it's remotely on the board, Coach, but if the series goes 7, I think Luka is in the conversation for Finals MVP, win or loss.
Yeah, because he's going to do what he's going to do, and right now we're not getting the best out of Kyrie Irving. So, to me, if it goes 7, Luka's going to be the soul and the main reason why. And if he's putting up 30-point triple-doubles, K-Dub, it's not going to matter at the end of the day because he'll probably at that point maybe lead the series in assists and in scoring, possibly in rebounds as well.
Yeah, for me, if you look right now, we enter Game 7, and Tatum is still averaging under 22 a night, and Luka's giving you 32, 10, and 8. There's a conversation. I'm going to see if I can convince Coach to give me 5 minutes on Hurley. If not, well, that would be brokenhearted. I don't think he would do that to me. Come on now. We're in the mix, folks. It's Game Time Decisions. What's going on with the hoop stuff?
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen. And the answer is, it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen and watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions. It's Kevin Walsh. SportsGrid. Coach James Young sticks around. Dave Showerpants here. Consig, great to see you. Look, we'll get in the mix in a moment. Why don't you take some time to reach out to Maz and let him know Shams might have gave away the game for free, and people should be sending him thank yous if they hire J.J. Redick instead of complaining. We'll leave that alone. Coach, Dave can tell him. Dave can tell I'm locked in. It's a big Monday, sir. I love it. Coach, what was your takeaway? Dan Hurley goes back to UConn.
First things first. Where was that $100 million contract? Did they not? You know, they missed it about $30 million. Kevin, that's a lot. $30 million, 70, 100 million. That's a lot of cheddar that they were supposedly giving him. So that was my first thing. Number two, the one thing that I know, I've talked about it with Dan, is, and I know what's struggled with him is, he's loyal. He is Mr. Hurley. He is Coach Hurley, a Coach Hurley that had plenty of opportunities to leave St. Anthony High School and never did. Dan struggled, folks. You should know the story that when Dan was at Rhode Island, he supposedly got offered the Rutgers job the year before he took UConn. And he went back and forth. He didn't know if he wanted to go back to Jersey because he felt something for those Rhode Island kids. When he got offered the UConn job, he went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth before he decided to take UConn. I was told that he went back and forth again, that he was gone, that he was not gone. Then he was gone, he was not gone. Then the word was today was he was worried about Kamani Young, his top assistant, that he wanted to make sure that he got the job if he left. But I don't think the money lined up, Kevin. I think his loyalty to his program and to his kids meant something to him. But also, Kevin, legacy. His dad's the greatest high school basketball coach of all time. Dan Hurley has a chance right now to win a couple more championships over the next couple of years that he could be talked about like Krzyzewski, like, I hate to say it, don't get crazy, folks, Wooden, like Bob Knight, like iconic basketball guy. I think that means something to Dan as well.
Oh. So my take on that is all of that was true and he still took the meeting. So either it was a leverage play or he looked at the number they offered him and went, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought this was an NBA organization, not a high school one.
Oh.
All right, I'm out of here. Coach is out of here. JY, awesome stuff as always. We'll stay locked in, and best of luck with the rest of the action in Sun Fever. Consig?
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Boy, I'm great. I'm glad I just got to see Coach. It's an interesting take. All well and good, maybe true, maybe not. I think he had to look at the Lakers and go, whoa, I don't know. The kids recruit themselves at Connecticut. I mean, he still has to do the work, and they have to put together the wins. But I don't know, a lot less stress. It's going to be a complete teardown and rebuild. Your guy staying, leaving, what's he doing? We got to get the kid on the team. There's a lot of questions, K-Dub.
See, I don't understand that. I don't understand those things, Dave. I really don't. And you're not the only one who says this. You think LeBron's back? You do, right?
I would think so, but
he's
maybe
favored to be back. Let's say that.
That wouldn't have been.
But Dave, he's favored to be back, right?
I would think. I honestly don't know where else would he go. I don't think there's another
All right,
option.
so my point is, Hurley takes the Laker job. He's got LeBron and Anthony Davis, which is two top 15 guys in the league.
Okay.
And they have the chance to add more. What Hurley's walking into what? A bad situation?
A year of
Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
A year of that, maybe two, and then a complete rebuild.
How is it a complete rebuild? Anthony Davis is 40? Did I miss that?
Oh, he's 40. Does he want him?
Or he was hell.
I don't know.
No, but I don't know. I just these things are mystifying to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, he wants to stay at UConn. That's all good. The idea that the Lakers job
sometimes
is
you
a
got to
bad
tell
job.
people you're going to leave to get a raise. That's the other thing.
100%. Now, I can't believe that the Kentucky thing wasn't enough to get every raise he possibly wanted, though, quite frankly. I'm now starting to wonder, did Dan Hurley look at the number and went, oh, I'll wait. Never mind.
Yeah.
You're not
I'm
serious.
Good. Yeah.
6 for 70 is not serious. It's less than Monty got from the Pistons.
That's hard to believe.
Call me when you're the Pistons. Apparently.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to leave college, UConn, 3-peat, for an NBA job, any NBA job, I'm not going to be the 9th highest paid coach in the NBA. That's crazy. You're not going to give me the offer you're giving J.J. Redick. That's crazy. So, again, Dave, do you think that if they offered him 10 years, $120 million, we'd be sitting here talking about new Laker head coach Dan Hurley?
10 years. Does he want to be coaching in 10 years? Does he want to be coaching the
Probably.
Lakers in the Pacific Division, battling Sacramento or Golden State? Or does he want 9 months on in stores?
Battling Sacramento.
Where the kids recruit themselves. I don't know. It's a different job. I don't know if he wants it.
I'll tell you this, man. You better hope that UConn team is good. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A lot of love for the UConn. And they're going to just be great forever, right? Despite the fact that they've had 15 head coaches in the last 6 years. But that's, I don't know. Again, this is all besides. This all again. It's one of those days, Dave.
Yeah,
it's one of those days.
Yeah. You sweating
we'll
some
do the
college
other basketball
baseball right now? Are you sweating some college baseball?
I don't know how it happens. It's 2-0 Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
It's 2-0 Georgia Bulldogs. We got the over 15 and a hook.
We need more juice. We need more runs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had an off-air sizzle yesterday under in the Vols Evansville game, which came in. Would you believe it?
How'd the octopus work out yesterday? I didn't check it. What?
Brother.
Oh, no.
Over 6.5 cashes. The octopus loses. Derek White, 1 assist shy. But here's the real nightmare.
7-1?
7-1.
Oh.
But here's the real nightmare, Dave.
Play it the next
So
game.
I play the, for those that don't know, 8-leg NBA Finals parlay. Played at game 1, went 6-2. Played at game 2, went 7-1. It's all very dumbed down numbers. It's an 8-leg parlay that pays out at around plus 110. But I've also played an elevated version of it each time, which was a little bit better than 5-1.
Oh.
And again, the only loss was Derek White.
Oh.
Now, he would have needed 2 more assists, but the elevated version went 7-1. So Derek White left us waiting. Here's what I think is going to happen. And I will not go back on my word. I will bet this every single game this series.
I love when he does this.
I think what's going to happen, let's say the series goes 6. I know people think it's going to go 5. Let's just say it goes 6.
Okay.
I'm probably only going to win this once, maybe twice. I need the elevated version to come in. It's what I'm starting. It's how it's starting to feel. Like people are panicking on the Mavericks. I'm panicking on the Octopus, Dave. I'm panicking on the Octopus big time.
Right.
It feels like they've got me dead to rights all of a sudden.
Well, you can't not play it now. You're in 6-2.
We're in.
Follow it up 7-1. You don't play it, and then it hits. I mean, you got to play it.
True.
There's no question. You got to play it.
That's
You're
true.
in for the series.
I also made some series bets. I'll tell you those after the break. I made some bets.
More?
You're not going to like them. Yeah.
Oh.
You're not going to like them.
Okay.
Which is okay. There's
That's
juice
fine,
to them.
yeah.
It'll be a sell job. We'll give it our best. We're with you right here on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's talk some hoops here. We'll get you some baseball breakdowns and everything else. And Stanley Cup final, of course. Don't worry, we're going to get there. Let's start Mavericks Celtics. So I told you, Dave, I made 2 bets.
Yep.
These are bets I wanted to make pre-series. I didn't think I was getting enough value. I wondered if Boston won Game 1, really when they won Game 1, would I get enough juice? I didn't. Game 2 was kind of the swing of this series. Now, with another Celtics victory, everybody expects short series, 4 or 5. So I bucked the trend and took bets that I wanted before this series began Celtics in 6, Celtics in 7. Both are plus 500. It's really a 2-1 bet that the Celtics win this in 6 or 7.
Okay. You think we get to 6 after what we've seen? Because all you got to do is get the 1 and you cash. But
right.
I tell me why. I don't think they get there.
Well, my thing is, Dave, this is kind of the deal when we get these 2-0 home court leads, and there's not been a lot of them, by the way, in this postseason. Honestly, if you go and look through it, but it always leads to, the series is done. It always leads to that.
Yeah.
But we know in NBA history that's not the case. If the Mavericks win this next game number 3, now I know the world. I don't know about the world. I think people will line up on Boston to take the 4th game.
Yes.
But Dallas winning a game in Boston is something that many, many, many people were expecting, right, before the series.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dave, if I told you don't think Dallas is getting swept, do you?
I don't think there's a sweep, no.
Okay.
I don't think there's a sweep.
So if I told you Dallas is not getting swept, now they could win both. I don't actually think they will win both, probably. Again, I like my value. I think Dallas can win Game 5 in Boston. I don't think there's anything wrong with that notion.
Then you need to bet that. Then the 6 or 7 is good because I think they're going to have to win the Game 5 in Boston. If you believe it, play it. That way you get the number now because if they win Game 3, this goes bye-bye, and you're going to wish that you could have got a 5-1 ticket on this. It's going to drastically change, especially if they win with control, like they win with a little bit of juice. Dallas could win Game 3 with juice. There's no doubt about it. I just don't know if they win, the next one, and then if they don't, they have to win. I don't know if they're winning the game in Boston. I still don't know. I don't think so. Can they? Yes. 2-run home run, by the way. NC State.
Yeah.
5-2-2. We need that.
Good update. Great update.
Yes.
What do you make of the Game 3 line? Because here's the funny thing. So my initial reaction is it's a terrible line, but that's kind of where I catch myself and realize that they got to set it based on what people are going to do, not based on what they think is going to happen. But let's call the Game 2 line 7. Let's call it 7 because it bounced around. Home court advantage isn't worth 9 points in the NBA.
No.
So Mavs minus 1.5, minus 2 is pretty wild.
I was on last night, and we talked about this a little bit. I'd have made the number Boston minus 1 and let them take the.
I would have made it minus 2.
I know. So I would. Well, I said 1.5. I just want to see if they'll take it. So if you give them even money on a home dog on a money line, that was my concern. I just want to know what they're going to take because I know what they're not going to lay. They're not going to lay 1.5 or 2. They're with Dallas. They're not. I know. I didn't know what they're going to take. As we get closer to game day, they're going to take Boston. Game's close and pick.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so this is what's so interesting, though, Dave. The book's going to need Dallas. By the time we tip it, book's going to need Dallas, right?
Some will. But other ones, that if you can get enough action, you don't really need anything at 1.5. The game just fell 7, right?
Yes.
And 7 was not ideal for a lot of my guys in the business. Anything but 7 would have been good last night. And then when it falls 7, when you open 7 and go to 6.5, you get all the one side push on the dog with the the rhombuses and the parallelograms, and then the people all laid 6.5. So you pay way more tickets. It's not good. So they're looking to get on a side here. That's what this line tells me. They want to have a decision before Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think the number's fascinating. I don't know what you make of the pricing of Finals MVP.
Well,
I might reinvest. I got to do some research before Wednesday.
Are you going to go back for some Drew? You getting some Drew?
No, stop it. Dave, they took Kristaps down to 5-1. They added a 0 after game 2. I mean, what are we doing here?
Wait a second. You want to go back for more of him?
No, I want more Tatum. I want more Tatum.
You don't want any Brown?
No. What's the Brown argument going to be? The Brown argument is Tatum shot 35% from the series. It's nothing he's doing. He's averaging 21 a night. Yeah. I'm not saying Jaylen Brown's playing poorly, but the Jaylen Brown stuff is Tatum's not shooting well. It's not JB's blowing him away. It's just not.
No, you're right. So no chance for Holiday? He's been playing so good. What he did yesterday.
Holiday has a better chance. Holiday has, like, if the series was done, right, and people voted Drew, I don't think that would be bad. But the series isn't done.
Correct.
And Drew just had the second highest scoring game he's had all year long.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do you think the points prop is game 3? 12.5.
It should be 14.5. It's only 12.5.
All right. So when he lands 12 and Tatum doubles his number.
Yeah.
I'm.
It very well could happen. I got a high alert today that Holiday over 12.5. Put that one in your back pocket.
Well, it's minus 128. It's moving. It's moving. I'll give you some Holiday look on the other side, actually. We'll get the hockey as well.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, the consig is still here. Dave, let's do baseball. Run through it for me. What, you like anything?
I got my throwback Ozzie Guillen on today. Every book in the world's probably going to need the White Sox against Gilbert.
Stop.
I like them plus a run and a half. That's got to be a play.
You
keep
trying to sneak this in. You keep trying to sneak this in once a week. No books need anything in a White Sox game. They don't need anything in a White Sox game. Yeah, they might. No. No, they don't need anything in a White Sox game.
Seattle is on every parlay today, every money line. Luke
Okay.
Gilbert's strikeout total, they need under because they're betting it over. It's going to probably go under. Just little hints right there. That's all. Yankees over the Royals and Toronto.
POD Verdugo RBI.
Where's he batting in the lineup right now?
4th. Judges
Hey,
out.
That's nice. I was going to say, is he at least up
Yeah.
at the top? So we get multiple opportunities. Okay. Juice, how'd the POD do yesterday?
Oof, it did real well.
Yeah.
Brent Rooker went deep. I maybe sort of might have swept the baseball board yesterday.
That was
Baseball's
yesterday.
been good.
Okay. I saw it.
Yeah, we're kind of zeroing in.
Saturday you did that. Okay, good.
All right, hockey.
Let's
Go
stay
ahead.
hot.
You like under?
Under every game till further notice. I'm still leaning Florida. Market's moved completely the other way. I don't get it. It's just one of those ones. I'm sitting here. It's by the time the opening puck drops here shortly, they're going to be minus 115 in places. I don't get it, K-Dub. Let them bet the Oilers tonight. Good luck.
Yeah, I agree. It's Florida. It's Florida. But McDavid for 2 points is the bet. I know you don't think they might. They've bounced back too well, Dave, off games where they haven't scored. And for him, minus 104 is a good number. That was minus 140 game 1.
Okay. That's fine. I prefer 1 point, but what's the price for 1 point? 200?
Minus 600.
Wow.
No.
What are pricing this guy out of the market?
No.
Wow.
No.
Just to get a
It was
point.
minus 200. No. You want?
All that being said,
most
Edmonton for everything. Edmonton for everything in Game 3. Just keep that one in your back pocket.
Yeah, but Dave, by the time you get there, Florida dog, you'll be on him.
Nah. Already got Edmonton. Edmonton's winning Game 3. Save that
All
one.
right.
If you're off Wednesday watching wrestling, text you.
Is that game Wednesday? No, that game can't be Wednesday. It's probably Thursday. They don't run against the NBA.
Oh, they skip a day. That's right. They skip a day because NBA Game 3 is Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk Thursday.
We'll talk then.
We'll talk Thursday.
Go White
all
Sox.
Right. Look, make it happen. Books need White Sox tonight. Should we just go the other way then? Who wants to go against the books? Anyone out there? I will do if we do Mariners with a Gilbert strikeout parlay, I'm guessing that's like the main thing the books need to lose. So let's just go with our most public play possible. Nevertheless, let's finish it out. Alex Verdugo, your MLB play of the day, plus 155 for an RBI. He's batting 4th. Good against righties. Lugo's biggest struggle has been lefties. Soto is batting 2nd. Straight games before he was injured, he walked 2+ times. I expect Soto on base. And Volpe's been good against right-handed pitching himself, batting leadoff. Verdugo's going to have chances. Glaber's batting 3rd. No double play. Ready? Here's the formula. Volpe single, Soto walk, Verdugo, Glaber, ground out, Soto dead at 2nd, Glaber reaches 1st, corners, Verdugo sack fly. I gave you the formula. Yerfy. I'm also on Blue Jays money line at even money. I'm on Mariners, White Sox over 5.5, parlayed with Padres Athletics over 5.5 at plus 101. Connor McDavid, 2+ points, minus 104. Matthew Tkachuk for an assist, plus 114. We're in the mix, people, and we're rooting in some NC State, Georgia over 15.5. You want a live number? Look at you out there. You love college baseball all of a sudden. You look at that 14.5, you think, wow, that's light. You think correctly. It's been a blast. Tomorrow is Dinger Tuesday. Big baseball card. Cannot wait. Kevin Walsh up next. It's In Game Live. Keep it here on SportsGrid.